For over 50 years, Don Rickles was the undisputed king of insult comedy. Presidents, movie stars, music legends, nobody was safe. He called Frank Sinatra a bully to his face and lived to tell the tale. He told Johnny Carson's audience that the man was a fraud. But there's a persistent Hollywood rumor about one star he couldn't crack. The story goes that for all his sharp-tongued jabs, there was one man Rickles truly could not stand. But is it true? Today, we're investigating the legend of why the unshakable Denzel Washington supposedly became the merchant of Venom's white whale. In the glittering universe of Hollywood, where egos are massive and personas are carefully built, a genuine clash of personalities is a rare and fascinating thing. For decades, Don Rickles was the court jester to the kings of the industry. His title, the Merchant of Venom, was earned every night in smoky Las Vegas showrooms and on gleaming TV soundstages. He was an equal opportunity offender, working on the idea that if you roast everyone, nobody gets truly burned. It was a high-wire act of affectionate abuse. An insult from Don Rickles meant you were officially in the club. But what happens when someone doesn't seem to want to join? What if the target of the joke doesn't play along? There's a legend that one star's profound seriousness and dignified aura was a brick wall to Rickles' unstoppable force. Denzel Washington. This isn't a story about a public shouting match. It's a quieter tale about two titans operating on such different wavelengths that people assumed their energies couldn't just coexist. They had to repel. But this is where the story gets interesting, because the truth is more complex and far more revealing than the myth. To get to the bottom of this supposed feud, you first have to understand the machinery of Don Rickles' soul. He wasn't born Mr. Warmth. That name was a sarcastic jab at his act. Born in Queens, New York in 1926, Rickles first dreamed of being a serious, dramatic actor. After serving in the Navy in Toluwantid, he studied at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, but the big roles never came. Frustrated, he started doing stand-up, telling what he later admitted were bad jokes. The legend was born from desperation. When hecklers interrupted his act, Rickles fired back with spontaneous insults. The audience loved the takedowns more than his actual jokes. He'd found his superpower. He wasn't just a joke teller. His humor was an attitude. As he put it, some people say funny things, but I say things funny. His act became a live, one-sided conversation with his audience. Everything was fair game. But here's the secret to his genius. It wasn't about malice. It was about deflating egos, including his own. He frequently made his own Jewish heritage a target, earning him the right to make you the butt of the joke. The whole performance was built on the shared understanding that it was all in good fun. The moment that launched his career was his legendary encounter with Frank Sinatra in 1957. Spotting Sinatra in a Miami club, Rickles knew most performers would bow down. Instead, he walked up and poked the bear. "I just saw your movie, the Pride and the Passion," he said, "and I want to tell you that Cannon's acting was great." He then added, "Make yourself at home, Frank. Hit somebody." The room went dead silent. Then Sinatra roared with laughter. He loved Rickles' fearlessness and became his biggest champion, his padrone, dragging famous friends to see the comedian. Sinatra's blessing gave Rickles a comedic license to kill. It led to his legendary status on talk shows, especially The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. He appeared over 100 times, and his entrances, often to the sound of Spanish matador, music, were events. Johnny, like Frank, understood the act. The core principle of the Rickles universe was established. For the magic to work, everyone had to be in on the joke. Now, let's travel to a completely different corner of the artistic cosmos, to the world of Denzel Washington. Born in Mount Vernon, New York, in 1954, Washington's path wasn't about chaotic nightclubs, but focused, disciplined study. He attended Fordham University for drama and later the American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco. From the start, his approach was about deep immersion. He doesn't see himself as a movie star, but as a stage actor who happens to make films. His public persona reflects this discipline. He's known for being intensely private, dignified and serious about his craft. You won't find him trading barbs at a Hollywood party. He famously said, "What's a celebrity anyway? Paris Hilton's a celebrity. I'm just a working actor. This isn't just an act, it's who he is." Washington has built a career on a foundation of integrity. He chooses his roles carefully, often playing figures of great moral weight. From Malcolm X to Rubin Hurricane Carter, he's a two-time Academy Award winner for Glory and Training Day, showing a vast and controlled range. But whether he's a hero or a villain, the man himself remains a sentinel of seriousness. He protects his craft and his family with a quiet but formidable boundary. In his public life, he seems to maintain a fourth wall, just like an actor on stage. He's polite and gracious, but he's not there to be part of someone else's show. He commands respect for the palpable weight of his presence. His philosophy is one of centeredness, faith, and stoic self-possession. It's this exact worldview that fueled the myth that he would be the one person Don Rickles couldn't handle. The legend of the Rickles-Washington feud isn't built on a single explosive event. It's a story of a slow, simmering clash of personalities. The rumor goes like this. At various Hollywood events, Rickles would try to do his thing. He'd spot Denzel, approach his table, and throw out a classic, harmless jab, the kind of playful barb he threw at everyone from Reagan to Sinatra. It was the standard Rickles invitation to play. But, as the story goes, the reaction from Washington was something Rickles was completely unequipped for. Nothing. A polite nod. A quiet smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. No anger. But crucially, no engagement. He simply refused to become a character in the Don Rickles Comedy Hour. For a comedian whose entire act ran on the fuel of reaction, this was seen as the ultimate rejection. The tension, it was said, was palpable whenever they were in the same room. It's a great story. But is it true? The only well-documented public interaction between the two tells a completely different story. In 2008, Washington was a guest on The Late Show with David Letterman. Instead of leaving after his segment, he chose to stay on the couch, knowing the next guest was Don Rickles. It turns out Washington was a huge fan and wanted a front-row seat. When Rickles came out, he was in classic form. He hugged and kissed Denzel, then immediately started ribbing him. "Why is he sitting here?" he joked to Letterman. "Does he have to clean up?" He teased Washington about never being in his movies, joking, "I could have played the guy picking the cotton. We could have faked it." And Denzel's reaction? He laughed and clapped through the entire segment, clearly having the time of his life. So, if the feud never happened, why does the story persist? The heart of this legend isn't about hate. It's about a fascinating clash of archetypes. The story is compelling because it feels like it should be true. It's a conflict between two opposing philosophies. On one side, you have Rickles, whose comedy was a tool for connection. His act was designed to break down the barriers of ego and status that separate people. When a celebrity laughed, they were showing they didn't take themselves too seriously. Frank Sinatra and the Rat Pack got it because they came from the same rough-and-tumble Vegas world. Denzel Washington, on the other hand, represents a different kind of ideal. His public persona is built on dignity, discipline, and purpose. It's not a performance to be switched on and off. It's an extension of his authentic self. For him, playing along with an insult comic might have felt like a betrayal of that identity, becoming a caricature for a laugh, the very thing his career stands against. The myth likely emerged because these two figures represent two different eras of Hollywood. Rickles was a product of the mid-20th century, where celebrity was a boisterous, public-facing blood sport. Washington rose to prominence in a modern Hollywood, where celebrity is a carefully managed brand. The legend of their clash isn't about a real-life conflict between two men. It's a story about the collision of old Hollywood and new Hollywood, of the jester versus the king, of playful chaos versus disciplined order. People created the story because the matchup of their public personas was simply too good to resist. What do you think? Were you familiar with the rumor about Don Rickles and Denzel Washington? What does their actual interaction on Letterman tell? you about them? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And for more deep dives that separate Hollywood fact from fiction, don't forget to like and subscribe. In the end, the legend of Don Rickles and Denzel Washington is not a tale of two celebrities who couldn't stand each other. It's a powerful parable about how we perceive our idols. Don Rickles was the merchant of venom, but the secret ingredient was always affection. His comedy was a contract, and the price of admission was laughing at yourself. Denzel Washington, in his quiet dignity, simply represents a different set of values. The truth, as seen on The Letterman Show, is that he was a fan who clearly respected Rickles' comedic genius. He wasn't a stoic wall of seriousness. He was an admirer, happy to be in on the joke. The story of their supposed feud persists not because it's true, but because it highlights the starkly different worlds these two icons represent. It's the story of what we thought would happen when the king of insult comics met the king of cool. It reminds us that behind every public persona is a real person, and sometimes the reality is much warmer and funnier than the myth.